In my experience, the way money flows into a person's investment accounts follows one of two basic patterns. It either dribbles or it chunks. Identifying your pattern and understanding the ramifications of it will help you prepare for the challenges inherent to that pattern. But first, let's clarify what I mean by money that dribbles and money that chunks. Most people dribble. Dribble money has two basic characteristics. It arrives on a predictable schedule and comes in relatively small amounts. W-2 employees are the obvious example. The date and amount of their paycheck is well known, and they can set aside a relatively small percentage for investment in tax-advantaged accounts. Hopefully, they are taking advantage of an employer's 401k match with remnant dribbles rolling into some kind of tax-advantaged IRA, preferably a Roth. The key point is that the money inflow is predictable, consistent, and each deposit is a small percentage of their net worth. Because it is the most common, dribbling benefits from the enormous financial infrastructure that has evolved around company 401k plans. Data from the BLS shows that about 75% of private company employees have access to retirement plans, but only a bit more than 50% of employees actually participate in a plan. The numbers are a little better for government employees. A good dribbler can parlay a lifetime of small deposits into a large retirement fund by simply maintaining a regular schedule over a long enough time frame to realize the benefit of compound interest. If you do not dribble, you probably chunk. Many small business owners are chunkers. Chunk money is decidedly different from dribble money because it is inconsistent, difficult to predict, and is often quite large in relation to a person's net worth. A common example is a general contractor who treads water for months or maybe even years, and then suddenly scores big on a large contract. This was certainly the pattern of my working life. As the owner of a couple small construction companies, some years were good and some were bad. The cash flows were painfully inconsistent, and any contribution I made to a designated retirement account would only occur at the end of a good year, after I was absolutely certain there was enough cash on hand to deal with any unexpected dramas. The best I could manage was one chunk a year, and much more often than not, they manifest once every 3 or 4 years. The only good thing about it was the deposits tended to be rather large. Now that you understand the differences between the two cash flow patterns, let's briefly go over some advantages, disadvantages, and more important, why all of this matters. Let me be very clear about one thing. Both patterns can get you where you want to go, but each has hurdles that must be overcome if you are to succeed. As is often the case, I have good news and bad news. The good news is that the problem is only in your head. The bad news is that the problem is in your head. Despite all the chart watching and stock picking gibberish you see and hear in the media, the market is unlikely to be your problem. The problem is in your head. One disadvantage to dribbling your way to wealth is that many people are unable to maintain steady deposits over a long enough time frame to realize the full benefit of compound gains. I live in what used to be a small town in Texas, and this part of the world is full of engineers who dribbled their way to wealth during long careers in the oil field. But I've also seen many people stumble along the way. Some make only sporadic contributions, fail to opt in when they switch jobs, or take early withdrawals to put out a fire in their personal life. The problem is that a dribbler must continue to dribble through the anxiety caused by watching painfully small deposits slowly and erratically grow into a number worth watching. When the dribbler logs onto his brokerage account, he is confronted with numbers that simply do not seem up to the task. In the distressed dribbler's mind, small math leads to a feeling of general inadequacy, which then spirals into thoughts of liquidating positions to pursue some other investment scheme, which rarely works out and almost always includes more risk than the dribbler understands. Even those who understand the math behind compound interest often yield to neurotic compulsions when the market is down or some family turmoil is in the air. The chunker is equally at risk. In his mind, the chunks are too few and far between and may well never come again. Whether he is a business owner, realtor, or commission salesman, the chunker suspects the whole thing could come crashing down at any moment. Chunkers may get a dopamine boost when they deposit a decent check, but the joy is brief and soon followed by the worries of another unpredictable hunt for money and a sneaking suspicion that he would be better off working at Walmart. The chunker has a structural problem as well. Current laws covering contribution and income limits compel the successful chunker to make greater use of taxable accounts. Depending on your situation, it is wise to consider a SEP or a Uni-K so that you can squirrel away larger amounts. But ultimately, the size and timing of your chunks may force you into taxable accounts. My retirement accounts are small in proportion to my taxable accounts. On those rare occasions when I did hit a lick, either the contribution limit or the income limit forced me to put the overwhelming majority of it into taxable accounts. The cost to reposition your taxable investments after 20 years of appreciation is prohibitive. From early days, the successful chunker must have a well-considered investment plan that takes into account not only the growth of the assets, but how those assets will produce income in retirement. In my opinion, investments purchased inside a taxable account are held forever, or until you are dead and the kids get a hold of it. That's all for now. Please remember to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. Until we meet again, take care.